Guys, the Bot Builder back for another video, and today it's another top 10, and this has been a top 10 I've kind of wanted to do for a while. Yes, obviously I've done my top 10 favorite Robot Wars competitors, you can go check that out, but I also always wanted to do this idea, the top 10 rejected Robot Wars competitors, because obviously, as you all know, before we get the robots that we see on TV, there's obviously qualifiers, and from those qualifiers there are machines that either fail to qualify, or they qualify and get rejected, for several different reasons. And I thought it would be quite an interesting list, as there are quite a lot of interesting machines that never made it onto TV. And of course, before I do get into it, I should say special thanks to Hexbug Heroes and Jim Dramatic, as both Hexbug Heroes 10 Crazy Rejected BattleBots videos and the Robots That Never Were podcast by Jim Dramatic were pretty big inspirations for me making this list. Go check them out. And also, another big thanks to the Robot Wars wiki for basically most of the information on these robots. Without them, we wouldn't even have information on their qualifiers or that these robots even attempted at all. So yeah, let's just jump straight into the list. Number 10, Mute, the Series 5 version. Now, I'm pretty sure you lot all know about Mute. Well, anyone who's watching this channel should. They were the robot who came runners-up in the New Blood Championships and competed in Series 7, reaching the semi-finals before losing out to Firestorm, even getting a victory over Behemoth. I do have my own model of it on my channel, but they did actually try and qualify for 2 series. This is the Series 4 version you're seeing right here. They did try and qualify for Series 4. Unfortunately, they failed to qualify. Well, actually, no, they didn't fail to qualify. They couldn't finish it in time and had to withdraw from the qualifiers. But the Series 5 version is a bit more interesting, as they did actually compete in the qualifiers. And judging by the look, it looked like an upgraded version of the Series 4 version, except with, you know, the orange spikes. I much prefer the look of the Series 6 and 7 version, but this is a unique colouring at least. I do like the orange of it. But when this robot fought in qualifiers, they fought 2 machines. They fought the Stag and General Carnage 2. The Series 5 version of the Stag looks a bit different to the Series 6 and 7 version, and General Carnage 2, they actually made it onto TV. Which is quite an underrated machine in my opinion. I've always found General Carnage to be quite an underrated robot. But yeah, I mean, the reason it's number 10 though is because, well, there isn't really a whole lot to say about Mute, apart from, well, it looks like a Series 7 version of Mute, but with the orange spikes instead of black. But the reason I wanted to really mention it was because of the reason they failed to qualify. This is an actual excerpt from the Team Mute's Facebook page. It says, "We went to the Series 5 qualifiers and fought against General Carnage, but didn't get onto the show. We were told at a later date that we should have been on, but there was a mix-up with robots." Like, wow, a mix-up with robots. And this is from the official Mute's Facebook page, so it's not the wiki making stuff up here. Honestly, that is kind of funny, but also really sad at the same time. And obviously, Team Mute are quite skeptical of this themselves. Honestly, I'm pretty skeptical of it because, well, I mean, it is the classic Robot Wars. I mean, they were known for mistakes, but they were also known for incompetence as well. But yeah, it really is a shame Mute didn't enter, because, as you all know, many of these Series 5 newcomers were awful. But this would have been a pretty good machine. I don't think it would have gotten too far into Series 5, because they probably would have suffered from quite a few teething issues, I reckon. But it would have put up a decent fight against one of the veterans I could see. But yeah, that's Mute. I'm kind of ashamed they didn't compete in Series 5, but that's just the way it is. Mentor being incompetent is the reason they failed to qualify. Number 9, Aelus, Robot Wars Series 4. I am not actually too sure if that's how you're meant to pronounce it. Aelus, I really don't know. Probably should have checked on the wiki before this, but you know what you're thinking? Why is this robot on the list? It's not really too interesting. It seems to be a red, flat-ish robot with a nice spike on it. I don't think it would have done too well in Series 4, because that was kind of when flippers were becoming more prominent. I could have seen it easily get flipped up and over, but the reason why I kind of wish this robot was in was because of, well, the robot it's related to. This robot was made by the same guy who made Combatant. Yes. Now, for those of you who haven't seen Robot Wars Extreme and Robot Wars Extreme 2, Combatant, for a brief period of time, was one of the best ant weights in the business. Here they are, absolutely shredding up Craig Danby's Anto Anu one here. And they actually won the featherweight championships in Extreme, and I believe they came second in the middleweight championships in Extreme 2, losing out to Anti B. And it just kind of makes me want to see Aeolus compete because, well, obviously he dominated the featherweight scene. It would have been nice to have seen how he would have fared with the bigger robots. Now, Aeolus did fight in the qualifiers. They fought Wheelie Wacko 2. There is no images of Wheelie Wacko 2, but there is, so here's Wheelie Wacko 1 and an unknown robot, which is always fun when there's an unknown robot. But yeah, I believe they've beat Wheelie Wacko 2, or at least fought them to a draw, but they didn't qualify because it wasn't said to be the most impressive win. I mean, I can't imagine they would have done too great in Series 4, depending on what heat they got, really. If they got, like, a heat like Something's heat, I think they probably would have done alright. Probably would have lost out to Mousetrap or Tiberius if they didn't crap themselves. But you know, with the amount of flippers, can't really see it doing too great. But it would have been nice to have seen how the king of the outweights would have fed in the heavyweight war zone. And didn't realise this part was over. Yeah, but yeah, they are. I don't know. They probably might have been able to do something. Not too sure, but it's a shame they didn't enter. I would have rather seen this robot over something forgettable like Mazakari or something. But number 8. Bullfrog and Robot Wars Series 8. Yes, Bullfrog. I can hear World of Woodrow jumping out of his chair right now that I'm talking about Bullfrog on my channel, and like Mute, I do have a model of Bullfrog. Now, Bullfrog does have a very interesting history, as this was, as Bullfrog, don't know who the original owners were, but they were bought out by the Dutch team, Team RCC, and Team RCC have quite a reputable amount of robots. They competed in Dutch Robot Wars Series 1 with RCC. I think some of you guys may know this robot from Mr. Psycho's newest live review. They didn't do too great. They weren't a terrible machine, but they got absolutely destroyed by Pulverizer. They got pulverized. And they entered Dutch Robot Wars Series 2 with Black Devil Warzone, scoring a victory over Namazu, who is one of my favourite looking robots. It's not the best in performance, but I love the design of Namazu, and Black Devil Warzone were able to beat them before losing out to Nita, which is the predecessor to Nita Machine, which competed in Robot Wars Series 7. And they actually failed to qualify for Series 7 with RCC2, and Splinter, believe it or not. Yes, this team actually bought out Splinter, and it is a crime that Splinter never competed in Series 7. They should have. Would have loved to have seen that veteran back again. But between the times of Series 7 and Series 8, the team bought out Bullfrog, and Bullfrog's gone through quite a history of their own, starting off as Bullfrog Breed, going to a more conventional flipper design, before going through that version, which you might recognise from the Robot Wars mod on Robot Arena 2, before coming to the design we know today. And now, it's owned by World of Woodrow, part of Team Bullfrog, and there's how Bullfrog looks now in its nice camouflage. Really hope World of Woodrow can get Bullfrog fixed. I would love to see Bullfrog back in the Warzone, because I do quite like them. But yeah, I kind of wish Bullfrog kind of were in Series 8. They would have been a very interesting machine to see how they would have done. Now, there were quite a lot of flips in Series 8, but I would have rather seen Bullfrog over someone like Thermidor. I love Thermidor, but they kind of were getting old, and at that point, it's just kind of sad to see a legend die so quickly. I think Bullfrog probably would have fared better. But yeah, there's Bullfrog. And I have to say I do really like the design. It's so far away from the typical flipper of being a generic wedge. Maybe it's because it's not a Brit flipper; it's a Dutch flipper. I think. Well, I mean, I'm not too sure if the guys who originally made it were Dutch, but Team RCC owned it for a long time, and they're a cool flipper. Shame we never really got to see it really. But hey, if Woodrow could get Bullfrog back fixed and back in good strong fighting form, we might see it in the new BattleBot series. Well, not this series, but maybe a future one. I don't know. Depends if he wants to really. Tell me if you were planning on doing that at some point, Woodrow. I'd love to know if you're planning on entering Bullfrog into a future series of BattleBots. But yeah, there we go. There's Bullfrog. Number 7. Toxic 2, another machine that failed to qualify for Series 8, and the fact this robot wasn't in Series 8 is a massive shame. It's a humongous shame. But before we get into it, let's just discuss the history of the robot briefly. Now, I reckon some of those live event veterans may know of Toxic 2, but not too many. How many of you would know about Toxic 1? Toxic 1 competed in the Roaming Robots 2006 UK Championship. If you haven't watched it, I do recommend it. It's quite underrated actually. It's a good fun little tournament. Unfortunately, only the heats are up on YouTube, but it's still a good bit of fun. And Toxic 1's there. They didn't really do that well. It's sort of a really strange double flipper that didn't really work because the little forky bits didn't extend out too far, but they improved it, and Toxic 2 is a major improvement. And as we all know, Toxic 2 won a 2015 world champion and are beating 4 in the final. If I'm correct, which is very impressive, as 4 are a good machine. And honestly, it's such a shame Toxic 2 failed to qualify. They're an absolutely fantastic. They're a brilliant flipper. I'm going to say that right now. I've seen Toxic 2 live before, back in 2015, around 2015, might even be 2016 at my first live event, and they were brilliant. They were easily one of my favourite robots at the event. The flipper is powerful. It is up there as one of the most powerful Brit flippers. It's up there with the Iron Ore, Eruption, and Manta series for me. Wouldn't say as powerful as those 3, but it's definitely a very strong 4th place in most powerful flippers in the UK. And I would have loved to have seen them clash with, say, like Apollo or Eruption in the main series. I mean, they could have done that if they just replaced Toxic 2 with Sweeney Todd. That would have been great. We would have had Apollo and Toxic 2 in the first round, but I'm guessing their reason for not putting Toxic 2 in was overabundance of flippers. I guess they wanted to put in some more original designs, which is understandable, I guess, but I would have loved them to have at least fit in Toxic 2. Just find a way to fit them in, because they're an awesome machine. Number 6. Twister, the Series 6 version, and I'm going to be honest here, I don't like this robot. I don't like this robot that much at all, to be honest. The reason I'm putting them in here, though, is because it's absolutely hilarious. Right, first of all, let's go over their design. Obviously, we know about the Series 5 version of Twister and about how not good it is, which is strange, because they were made by the Berserk team, which make good robots. Berserk 2, the Series 3 version, was a really good machine for the time, but just like my grades, ever since that, they've just been going downhill. And before I get a pedantic comment saying, "You can't diss them, they're deaf," yeah, I know. Being deaf doesn't really affect your robot building ability. So yeah, and to quote Jim Dramatic, I'm not making fun of the deaf people. I'm making fun of their robot because it's bad. But yeah, Twister, they lost to Creepy Crawly. No, that's not what it's called. Claude Hopper. What am I on about? but they tried to qualify for Series 6 with a robot that looked exactly like Pussycat. Yeah, this is not Pussycat. This is Dollar Store Pussycat. Why am I saying dollar? I'm British. Poundland Pussycat. Which is a bit distasteful, as at this time David Gribble has only had just died. Bit distasteful there. But as you can see, there is no spinning blade on the weapon. But I still can't get over how much of a rip-off it is. Yeah, this is just a small edit I did. Yeah, it is like a video game rip-off or something. But what are its weapons? As you notice, it doesn't have the saw. Well, what it has instead is that... Well, sorry, I'm getting a bit too ahead of myself as well. Yeah, it is almost like Soaring Shell. It's the Soaring Shell of Robot Wars. Series 6 Twister is. Yeah, and if you don't know who Soaring Shell is, yeah, they're not Apollo. But I think you're wondering, what is the main weapon on Twister? What could their weapon be? Because as you saw in the image, they didn't have a saw on them. So what could they have? Well, their weapon is... There's Berserk. A bludgeoner that's on the back of the robot. I really should have rehearsed this better. I'm messing up all my lines here, but their weapon is a bludgeoner that's on the back of the robot. Okay, first of all, bludgeoners don't really do that well, unless if you're called combatant. Never make a bludgeoner on a robot. They never end well. And second of all, it was located on the back of the robot. And in their qualifiers, they fought Lightning and Barbaric Response, which are two flippers. Take a guess how they lost. Twister fought Barbaric Response and Lightning in its qualifiers, but became immobilized during the battle after getting flipped onto its bludgeoner. This robot makes me sad. What's even worse is that they made Berserk, and Berserk are a good machine. Oh, God, what on earth happened here? Number 5, Nelly the Ellibot from Robot Wars Series 9 and 10. Yeah, we are going back on the good machines. I mean, I don't normally diss robots, I only diss Twister because they came from a good team who should know better. But yeah, we're going to get back into the good machines. And speaking of good machines, Nelly the Ellibot. I love Nelly the Ellibot. It's such a great machine. Now, many of you would recognise this from BattleBots. They fought Unicorn and Deep Six. No, they're not called Unicorn. They're called Rainbow. Rainbow and Deep Six, and obviously, Sarah Malum is quite well known in the Robot Combat community, being I think she's the leader of Shuntcasting, as well as being the presenter of BuggleBots. And so yeah, honestly, so with all that behind, what went wrong here? Well, the issue is that they tried to enter Series 9 and 10, but they weren't finished. They weren't finished, and honestly, that is kind of a shame they weren't finished, as I'm pretty sure they would have gotten in. I mean, it's a bonking elephant. What more could you ask for? It's an elephant that bonks people. Like, that would make great television, and they are quite a competent machine. Granted, in BattleBots, we didn't really see much of them. They got pretty destroyed by Rainbow and Deep Six, but against a non-spinner, against a non-spinner, I could see them probably doing some good stuff here. I mean, they're kind of like Terahertz. They remind me of Terahertz in a way, except elephant-like. And it would have been really cool to have seen them in Series 9 and 10. They probably would have gotten a few surprises, and they would have been good entertainment, and they probably would have died in a funny way. I mean, that's kind of how it goes with these comedy robots, but I'm not saying comedy is as an insult. I love comedy machines, and Nelly fits the bill for me. It's a really entertaining machine, and it's a shame they won't finish in time for Series 9 and 10. As it says here, they weren't finished, which is a shame. It was actually chosen. It was chosen, but they had to withdraw because they couldn't finish it. Moving on to another BattleBots. Number 4 is Double Jeopardy from Series 10, and oh, I love Double Jeopardy as a robot. It doesn't do well, but I don't care because they're an amazing idea for a machine. Now, for those of you who don't know, Double Jeopardy are a BattleBots veteran. They don't really have the most success. Here's their fight against Gamma 9 and the Swarm. But the reason it's so cool is their weapon. Their weapon is a tethered projectile. The first robots who have a tethered projectile as a weapon. I mean, it hasn't been able to do too much, but I think once they get it sorted, it could be such a cool idea just to have a long-ranged robot with just gunning robots down. It's a really cool idea, and it's honestly something I'm glad they're going with. And I really hope the team do make more progress with it. But before they did try and enter BattleBots, they did try and enter Robot Wars Series 10. And and yeah, here is the new version that they have, which isn't invertible. This is the version they have in BattleBots Season 2. But yeah, they did, but before entering BattleBots, they did try and enter Double Jeopardy into Series 10. However, they didn't let them in because of the, because they didn't want to put spectators in line of fire. I guess BattleBots are fine with it. Although they did say that they're invertible, so they wouldn't have done too terribly against flippers. Which kind of makes you want to see the old version of Double Jeopardy go up against someone like Bronco or Hydra, just to see if, just to put his theory up to the test. Obviously not the new one, that one can't self-right, but yeah, I kind of would have liked to have seen Double Jeopardy in Series 10. It's understandable as to why. Don't think they would have done too great, because, well, I mean, the weapon is more of a proof of concept, and they still haven't worked out all the kinks of it yet, but it's just such a cool robot. It's just such a cool machine. Number 3, Weird Malice from Robot Wars Series 4. We're going back to the machines that failed to qualify from Series 4, and this is Weird Malice. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why did I pick this robot? This robot is not that interesting looking. It's some unconventional looking wedge with some weird sort of weapon on it. The weapon is a CO2 spike, kind of like... It kind of reminds me of Triceratops from Robot Champions, except not good. And I'm allowed to say it's not good because the team who made it admit the robot isn't that great. So how did they respond? By making a good machine. And, oh, I'm so glad they did that. So many teams in Robot Wars make a machine, doesn't do well, and they retire from the sport. However, these guys, they made a machine, it wasn't the best, so they put their money where their mouth is, and they made a good machine, and they made Weird Alice, and Weird Alice eventually evolved into Weird Malice, and I love Weird Malice as a robot. They are such a cool flipper. Like, they're not like the generic Brit flipper, they're a great flipper, and they're really cool, and I just love the fact that even though this team failed, admitting their robot wasn't good, they made a new one. They learned from their mistakes and they made Weird Alice, which is a good machine, and Weird Malice, which is an awesome machine, which is such a good improvement. And I just love that. That's the reason I wanted to mention Weird Alice, the Series 4 version. It's just such a weird evolution to go from that to that. But it makes me happy. It makes me happy, and it's something I wish more teams would have done, because there are so many bad robots. Well, I mean, there are so many robots that are bad. They make a bad machine, they get destroyed, they never return again. But at the same time, even though their robots were bad, I do always kind of wish they would return. They would return and, well, make a better machine. And many teams don't do that. However, the Weird Alice team did, and they made what wasn't the best machine in the world into probably one of my favourite machines from the live events. And you know, for that I salute you. I would clap, but I'm holding the camera with my one hand. Number 2, Iron Man from Robot Wars Series 3. Now, let's talk about the design of this one. This robot doesn't look like a Robot Wars competitor. It looks like something out of Transformers. Yeah, this robot is I love the design of this one because this one is on here just because of the design is just awesome. It is it's a walker robot, but it just looks so cool. It looks really robotic. It looks really futuristic, and it doesn't look generic and plain like the other walkers at the time of Series 3. And I really wish we would have seen them in the walker battles, as well, many of the walkers didn't really make good battles. This one would have been at least entertaining to see it fail, or funny and kind of awesome to see them actually win. But I mean, they were a lot better than the other Series 3 walkers. Like, okay, Mistruts were a pretty good walker for Series 3, but Mammoth barely worked, Stomp didn't work, and an Arachnid was made out of wood, I think. I believe it was made from wood. Might as well would have been cardboard. But Iron Man would have been a really cool walker to see, instead of box and box and box and box that walked well. But the reason they didn't get let into Series 3 was quite funny. I went in for Series 3, it got to the stages as a show, but it did not fail to qualify, as they thought it was too intimidating. Yep. I suppose that was a backhanded compliment. Yeah, I mean, not gonna lie here. Whenever I'm in a dark room, I'm always scared because I'm going to see Iron Man running towards me. Running towards me. It's scary, you know. Oh, but number one. So, who could possibly be number one? We've gone through major improvements, BattleBots competitors, Pussycat ripoffs, World of Woodrow, mix-ups, and a bloody Transformer. So who is going to be number one? Son of Waiachi from Extreme Warriors Series 2. Where do I begin with this machine? And how much of a crying shame it is that they failed to qualify. Well, they didn't fail to qualify, they were not accepted in. As they did try to apply for Extreme Warriors Season 2, which is the US version of Robot Wars. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Extreme Warriors Season 2 is up there in my most underrated series of all time, next to Dutch Robot Wars Series 2. If you haven't seen Dutch Wars Series 2, watch that as well. Even if you can't speak Dutch, it's a great watch. But Son of Waiachi, like, this had to be number one. This was the robot that obliterated Nightmare. It obliterated Biohazard. This is the Series 3 Son of Waiachi. And they still compete to this day. And they're still a really seasoned veteran. They're not the powerhouse they once were, but they're still a machine to be feared and respected. And I can't wait to see them back in the new season of BattleBots, because they did say they were retiring it. They decided against it. And honestly, I can't wait to see them in the newest season, because even though they're not one of my favourite machines, they are still a really cool robot. And the amount of machines the Waiachi team have. They have Waiachi, they have Waiatica, they have Wipeout, they have Hydra, my favourite one of the lots, Falcon, and Warrior Clan. And obviously this was the machine that broke the weight limit rules. Yeah, this is the reason why Shufflers can't be as big as they are now, because of Son of Waiachi kind of breaking those rules, and Drillzilla. It's kind of funny, actually. So they kind of did get moved to the Super Heavyweight division, which they didn't do too great on. But they are still a really cool machine. And if they were in Robot Wars Extreme Warriors Season 2, they would have won it. Easily. No doubt about it. None of the robots would have stood a chance. Panzer probably would have had the best chance, but they would have been absolutely ripped apart by the spinner. And Rocky Bot Burr wouldn't stand a chance. The Revolutionists would be dwarfed when it comes to the battle of the full body spinners. Rosie the Riveter, as much as I love that machine, they would have been teared apart by the spinner. They would have just dominated. But the reason they weren't allowed in Extreme Warriors Season 2 was because of this. They were rejected. It wasn't said why, but possible reasons are because they were the heavyweight champion on a rival Robot Combat show of BattleBots. However, Terry Hewitt, who, as we all know, is a member of Team Waiachi, had this to say about why they failed to qualify. I suspect they didn't want to repair the house robots. I love that quote. I love that quote. See, he's joking about it, but at the same time, I can kind of see Mentor doing that, being afraid by this spinner who obliterated everybody. And if Son of Waiachi did actually appear in Extreme Warrior Season 2, they would have won a lot of Ragnabots. I would say. If you don't know what that is, just look it up on the Robot Wars wiki. They would have won. They would have won every single pre-boot Ragnabot tournament. But yeah, that's kind of all we have to say about Son of Waiachi, and we're now left with this lovely black screen, which shows we've come to the end of the road. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say. And well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, leave a like if you want. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Subscribe if you want. Do whatever you want. And until then, the Bot Builder out.